Okay, so section 5 is about the geometric series. Okay, we're going to skip question 1 for the moment because it is a little bit more difficult. Yep, let's jump down to question 2. Question 2. Now, the formula for the geometric series, now series means what? What mathematical operation do you think of when you hear the word series? Add, right? You are plus, sum, however you want to say it, but you are adding. Now, geometric means that the terms are being multiplied by the same number every time. That's what we talked about in terms of geometric. The geometric sum formula looks like this. It requires you to know the first term. It requires you to know the common ratio, that's the multiplier. It requires that you know the number of terms, and that's a really bad looking end, but oh well, let me switch that and make that a little better. Your multiplier could be negative, and we always talk about adding, but you could add a negative number, so it could look like subtraction. However, when you have a negative multiplier, the signs are going to alternate. You'll have positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. I think what you're trying, an arithmetic one could have minus, 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 minus all the way through because it's going down forever, or it's going down to a particular point. I don't think I'm going to try to trick you with a negative, like that. That's not my overall goal here. So, the 3 things we need to know. There is no common difference, but I think you meant common ratio. Okay, we need to know that. We need to know the first term, right? And we need to know the number of terms. Okay? When you look here, can you tell me any of that information? The first term is not 6. There are 6 total terms. We do know that information. Okay? Now, I believe you are correct. If you want to know the first term, what do you plug in to find the first term? You plug in a 1. So what is 1 minus 1? 0. And what is 1/4 to the 0 power? 1/4 to the 0 power is 1. So we know the first term. The first term is 1. Okay? What is the common multiplier? Now, you may not know that. Let me write out the 6 different numbers. You're probably, so the 6 different numbers that we're really adding together, I would not expect you to write these 6 out. Okay. You work on your stuff, we'll work on ours. Okay, well then, do it quieter. I would not expect you to know those 6 numbers. But those are the 6 numbers we're adding together. We're going to use the formula. You won't get any credit if you write out all 6 numbers and add them together. You will need to use the formula. Okay, G1 stands for what? The first term, we know the first term is a 1. We know the common multiplier is a 1/4. We know that there are 6 terms. Please use your calculator right now and see if you can find the sum. Find the sum. Hey folks, here's what I did with my calculator. First, I found the numerator. That's that .9975 blah blah blah. Then I divided by the denominator. Make sure you use parentheses around your denominator. Now, if you know that the denominator is 3/4 or .75, you can type that. If you don't feel like doing that, you can just use parentheses. If you ignore the parentheses, you will get the wrong answer. got things to do, folks. Stay with me. Yeah, I would say nearest tenth in this case. That's what they. If you gave me 1.3 and the next kid gave me 1.3 and the next kid gave me 1.33, I'd take all of them. You know, it definitely doesn't round past that. You can't throw another 3 on there. Yes, sir. Yes, you may. Thank you for respecting my rule. Okay, question 3. In March, a family starts saving for a vacation. Okay. So in March, they make an initial deposit of $130. Okay, so we have April, May, June, July, and then they make a final payment in August. So you're saying there's 6 terms? You are correct. 6 terms.
Wait, so are we trying to get all the 6 terms?
Okay, because we're putting money into the account, right? We are adding these together. But they're smart enough to know that if they only put $130 in for 6 months, there's no way they're going to get to the total that they need for the trip. They're smart enough to know that. So they said this, well, what if we increase each deposit by 20%? Now, what multiplier is that? 1.2, thank you. We talked about how it was 100%, and if you increase it by 20%, that's going to give you 120%, which is where that multiplier 1.2 is coming from. Okay. So we got the multiplier, we know the number of terms. Do we know the first term? Yes, we do. We've got all the pieces we need. Oops, that is not what I wanted. So, the sum of the 6 terms, the first term, your multiplier was 1.2 to the 6th over 1 minus 1.2. Please figure out how much money this family has saved. I would just type it as you see it straight across the top of the fraction. So 130 parentheses 1 minus 1.2 to the 6th power. So look at how I typed the numerator. Okay, and then just hit the enter button. Okay, and now hit the division key.
That divides by 0.2.
Yeah, so if I switch over to my camera here, you'll see that I did the numerator just like you did, and then divided by parenthesis 1 minus 1.2. So there's how we get our 1291 if we're rounding to the nearest dollar. Okay, we got that. All right, now, redo that question, but change it to 25%. Change it to 25%. 1.25 is our new multiplier. 1.25. Okay, so yeah, exactly. Go ahead. 1 minus 1.25 to the 6th power. So did you do it like that part for the numerator? Okay, so do we agree on that part? Did you get the same number, the negative 365.9? Okay, so now I hit the division key, parenthesis, 1 minus 1.25. If you don't use those parentheses, then we're in trouble. Okay, so 1464 take away 1415. How much are they over budget? How much are they over budget now? Yep. Okay, they got $49 to spare. Yeah. Okay, let's jump down to question 7. Question 7. How are you, Mr. Whitaker? I jumped to question 7 too. Okay, question 7. Do we know the first term? Do we know the common multiplier? What is it? 100 divided by 500 would give me 1 over 5. So, yes. Any term divided by its previous term. You guys told me that the first term was 500. Do we know how many terms there are? Ah, they gave me information right there. They told me that there were 200 terms. So at first, I know you got confused when you saw the ... but they stopped you by saying that there were 200 terms. So we want the sum of the 200 terms. First term, 500. 1 minus the multiplier. 1/5 is another way of saying 0.2 if you want to use the decimal. You are correct. Okay. So,
Yeah, when you're like,
what? I will give it for you. That's not that. I'd be rough. Oh yeah, you are. Yeah, I can shoot you. You know, I know why it's. I know it's after I stopped playing. I would use it. Hey, I need to know something. Okay, I saw something interesting happen with a calculator in the back. What is 0.2 to the 200th power? Is that a big number or small? It's pretty small. It's really small. In fact, it's so small. I did see one calculator, an app on a phone, tell me that it was something to the negative 140th power. It is so small that most of our scientific and gravity calculators don't know what to call it. So they call it 0. If you look at this, sorry, you can't see it right now, but 1 minus 0. What's 1 minus 0? 1. And 1 times 500? 500. That's why the calculator says it's 500. Because that number is so stinking small, it doesn't even know what to call it. That's why your calculator was, or that app was telling you it was having a problem because it didn't know what to say. So now when I take that 500 and divide by the 1 minus 0.2, I get 625 like the rest of you. Okay? So 625 was our sum. Okay. Now I want to go back to question 1. Question 1 was a little bit more difficult. I'm probably going to use all that space at the top, and I might have to write a little bit small too. Okay. Do we know the first term? we know the common multiplier? 15 over 5 is 3. Do we know the number of terms? No. That is a problem. Now, in the last section, we had the arithmetic, and it's a lot easier to find the number of terms in the arithmetic. Now, it's not too hard, but this is going to require that you remember some stuff that you've done recently. We need to figure out which term this one is. The formula that we need to use is the explicit formula. Okay? Now, unless you did it the way I want you to, guess and check is not going to give you any credit. Alright? I understand, so all I have to do is make it significantly larger and you won't do that little guess and check trick. Well, I'm pretty sure you didn't do it the way I'm about to do it, but we'll find out. Okay, we do not know what n is. We're taking this and putting it right there. 3645. That's an excellent first move, division by 5. What is 3645? That is 729 equals 3 to the n minus 1. You cannot divide by 3. You cannot subtract 3. Folks, we don't know what n is. Therefore, don't try to tell me we should take a square root or a cube root. We can't do any of that. We can, however, do something else. When we have it in exponential form and we can't solve it, what do we change it to? Oh. Log form, thank you very much. What's the base? 3. What's the argument? 729. And what's the exponent that it equals? N minus 1. My calculator won't handle base 3, so I have to change it to base 10. And how do I change it to base 10? Log 729 over log 3, right? Log of the argument over log of the old base. Anybody know what log 729 over log 3 is? You do have to put this particular parenthesis right here, Mr. Bond, is the one that will cause you the most problems. So make sure you put the one after the 729. So 6 is the n minus 1, so what does that mean about n? It is 7. Yes, you will have to show me that you can use logarithms. And no, we will not have tons of these questions on a quiz or test. We'll have one. Okay? Now, that just tells me how many terms there are, which was the last piece of the puzzle. I still need to find the sum. We want the sum of the 7 terms. What's the first term? 5. Okay. And we know that the multiplier was 3 to the 7th power over 1 minus 3. Find me the sum. I think you're right, yes. Ooh, there's no 0.5 in it. Did yours look like something like this? You took 5 times 1 minus 3 to the 7th, you got the negative 10,930.
Oh, I didn't.
Well, I'm not sure how you would have gotten... Oh, I know what you did. You put a plus sign in there. You put a plus sign in. That gave you a plus 1, which caused the 1/2 to occur. Yep. What did we come up with? 5,465. Yep, nice job. Well, Did you put a plus in the top? Okay. I think you're forgetting the plus ones. If you just type the top of that fraction, just like you see it, then hit enter, then the division key, just like I was doing, you'll be better off if you do focus it this way. If you just do the 2 steps like that, you'll never be wrong. Okay, let me see. Okay. That's why, I know that it's -2, but I know that some of you like to see it, and you guys use the parentheses and write it out. But if you want to do -2, boom, go for it. Nothing wrong with that at all. Okay, I'm going to go down here to the bottom to some empty space and give you another practice question that's not on any of these. Okay, we'll get to these other notes next week. All right, so let's see here. We may call it a day. Maybe we'll do that. Okay, so we're starting with 2, then 8, then 32, ... plus. Oh, you know it. You know it. 33,554,432.
You just did that so I didn't do the way around it.
Yes. Okay. Yes, Steve. Now, do you know the first term? Do you know the common multiplier? You need to figure out the number of terms. Okay? Now, guess and check ain't going to get you the credit. Now, if you're doing with logarithms, and you're showing me the work on the logarithms, okay, I'll give you the credit. Alright, so 33,554,432 equals 2 times what to the n minus 1? What's the multiplier? 4. Okay, so what's your first step? Divide out the 2. So 16,777,216 equals 4 to the n minus 1. Okay, change it to logarithms. Log base 4 of 16,777,216 equals n minus 1. Keep going. Well, do you know the first term? 2. Yep. 1 minus, what's r? 4 to the 13th power over 1 minus r. What do you mean? We didn't write an answer up there. How do you know that's what I got? Oh, well, that's your job. Let's go. Come on. Okay. You didn't buy it from Takashi 69, so don't say anything.
Did you get this?
I don't know. You're going to have to compare with the neighbor because I don't have this one memorized.
I mean, like, did I...
47. 44,239,242.
Wait, what'd you get?
I got that too.
4.
Did you actually do it?
Yes, I got that one right. Let's just call it a day. You think I just typed that number for half?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you. All right. What'd you get for what?
I don't know. 4, 6, 7, something, 4, 2.
6, 7, something.
I can go back here.
It's more difficult on the older calculators than it is on that newer one. Miss German, what'd you get?
4, 4, 7, 3, 9, 2, 4, 2. Hey, there we go.
Okay, Dewald, what was that after the 739? Okay. Did you get that same thing? Just check it. All right, let me come around and check your work. Nicely done today.